because people are start left, 2-3 people already went. So yeah, so I am Bhavik Kumar Mahant. I am you can switch actually mute your, you can put your mic to off, sir. Dinesh sir, you can put it into mute because you are also joining with two, yeah, you joined with two device at a time, that's why I to record from one device. Okay, so I am Bhavik Mahant and I am a PhD student in IIT Madras. So today we are discussing with the biomass conversion and biorefinery subject, and I am sharing my screen. So can you able to see my screen? I just want one confirmation. Can you able to see the screen? Guys, any of you can please confirm? Yeah, okay then, thanks. Okay, so I will just start with the basic things that what is in this particular subject, what are the requirements. Wait, just 1 minute. Yeah, so this subject is taken care, the professor who is teaching this subject is from IIT Guwahati, Professor Kaustubha Mohanty. And this subject, these are the important things, that this subject start on 23rd Jan, and if you want to take the exam, then exam will be on 30th April 2023. So, and if you want to, this enrollments ends today, it's 2 days back only, yesterday only, that enrollment in this course was sort of, and that's it for the, just wait. Yeah, so I just I want introduce I just want to introduce the instructor in this subject. He is the Professor Kaustubha Mohanty. He is a very senior professor in IIT Guwahati, and particularly he did his PhD from IIT Kharagpur, and then he is working at IIT Guwahati since then. And he has a very vast experience. He's published 120 research papers and many more books and all. He has many awards. He is a fellow from Royal Society of Chemistry UK, and there are many more prestigious awards and society he is a member of. So actually, whenever the professor will arrange the live session from himself, maybe 3 live sessions will be arranged from the professor himself. So if you have time, to please join that particular session from the professor. So you will get to understand much more detail, and because he is an experienced man, so he can give you the knowledge outside of this course also. So this is about the professor, and I am Bhavik Kumar Mahant. I am PhD scholar in Chemical Engineering Department at IIT Madras. And any of you want to be in touch with me, then you can note down my mail ID. This is a particular IIT Madras mail ID which I am using for this course. So if you have any question, then you can drop the mail on this particular mail ID. You can note down it. And any other discussion like regarding the uploading of video or any thing, actually I am not directly associated with NPTEL as such, and even I am not directly associated with professor, but my duty is to take one lecture every week. So whatever the 1 week's content is there, if someone has any problems, I need to help him, and other than that, I need to clarify the doubts and make the concept clear for all the people, that is all the learner in this particular course. So that's why I am not working with professor. But yeah, if you have anything, just you can drop to me. If it is related to NPTEL also, I can share it to the NPTEL team, then they can able to contact to professor and TA from that particular department, IIT Guwahati. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, I just want to brief you that what is the NPTEL process. So anyone wanted to learn any kind of course in any engineering discipline, then it is free actually. For learning, you don't need to pay anything. But if you want to take any certificate out of it, then you need to register for the examination, and 1,000 rupees is the fees for the exam, and it could be arrange in the morning or afternoon session like gate examination. You can go there, and in particular center you can give the exam. So for exam, the criteria is whatever the assignments are there. But if you talk about this particular subject, then the assignments are easier, maybe not very difficult like numericals and all. It's not that much difficult like other subjects like mass transfer and fluid mechanics and heat transfer. But you need to give a focus in the concept, so you can able to understand the subjects. So 25% is from the assignment, then 75% is the our exam score, which will be taken care of, and like this you will get the final score. And that too, you have to score 10 out of 25 in the assignment and 30 out of 75 in exam. Then you will get this course graded in your profile. So these are the basic course certification. Now if we talk about the outline of the course, so today my duty is to first go through the first week content. But as I understand, some people have the doubt from the second week also, but maybe I don't know that beforehand. But for next time onwards, if you have doubt on the ongoing week also, you can ask me that doubt also. But this time I just prepared the first section only. So first week it was the introduction part, where where the professor discussed about the different energy scenario and different sources of energy and how it got distributed, and what are the challenges related to primary energy sources like gas emission, CO2 emission and all. So how can we take care of by using renewables and other alternatives and so energy sources. Then week 2 onwards, the biomass, one session is on biomass, then biorefinery, biomass pre-treatment, physical and thermal conversion processes, then microbial conversion process, and then there are some products from the biorefinery, that we have the biomass and we do some cracking or thermal process, and then we'll get the biodiesel, bio-oil, biochar, bioethanol, biobutanol. That kind of topics are there in the latest weeks. Then important says chapter like hydrogen, methane, methanol, organic commodity chemicals like these are the basically petrochemicals from biomass. So this kind of lectures are be there. If you don't able to understand my handwriting, just let me know, because it's very difficult to write with hand. So, and the last session is on integrated biorefinery. Okay. It's not moving. Sorry, wait 1 minute. So how this all, actually everyone knows beforehand also that primary energy sources, which has a major part of oil and gas, fossil fuels, which is depleting, which will be depleted in the nearby future. So but one conference from all the countries was taken place at Paris in 2016. That is when all overall world decided to take the action again against environmental challenges, climate change, as well as global warming challenge. So in this Paris climate agreement, many countries are decided to take initiatives in this direction, and then how it's the biomass conversion and biomass related product and biorefinery business has importance in India. Other in foreign countries, it's always before that also it is too much popular, but after this Paris agreement in India, people are working towards that. So these are the four pictures from the Paris climate agreement. Prime Minister was agreed on some key points from that Paris climate agreement. What are the key points? So these are today. Let's see. I am not discussing the contents which already professor discussed. I will take the some important topics out of it. Other than 60-70% of my presentation, I made it by myself. So it is give you the more in advanced information, and it will just or not advanced. Then also it will some other piece of information than the what already professor gave you. So we just discuss the things that and this will all will be help you in your increasing your information related to the current crisis and all. So feel free if you are bored in between. We are not technically discuss many things, because in the first session professor also discussed the many energy sources and how it got utilized for different purposes. So if you are also not interested in this kind of discussion today, I will go into the detail, and you will, if you will stay with me for next 1.5 hours, then I think you will get to know many more things, and that will be just give you the more information. So we all know that Paris agreement, but actually what happened in this Paris agreement? So what is the goal? So the major goal is they took in the Paris agreement is the hold average global temperature below 2 degrees centigrade. That is their goal. All the nation actually want come into the one table and decided that this will be the nation worldwide. Every nation will follow this to getting the net zero in the future. So this is the most important Paris agreement goal. Other than that, after that it is decided that every 2 decades temperature is rising around 0.5 degrees centigrade. So if you go to the history, then you get to know that it is from 0.5 to 0.8, and then 0.9 it got increased in a very short span of time. So all the nations committed themselves that they will limit the temperature increase below 1.5 or up to 1.5. So the ideal goal is 2 degrees centigrade, but every nation will be contribute by themselves to limit this temperature below than 2, that is 1.5 degrees centigrade. Then there are many finance related goals and many forest area, greenery, and that kind of biomass conversion, green hydrogen, many more things got discussed in the Paris agreement, and nations are ready to take that challenges. So if you just take care of the main three agreement, then the first is the limit the average global temperature increase to less than 2 degrees centigrade and achieve net zero emission by mid-century. So recently that COP27. So this is also part of COP only. So every year this conference of parties is happening in in one and other countries, and they are decided. So COP27 they decided that we will get the net zero. India took the decision that India will get net zero carbon emission in 2070. What is a net zero? Net zero means whatever amount of carbon the country emitting, so the same amount of carbon dioxide is taken care of or taken back by the countries by developing the infrastructure facility which can capture the carbon or carbon dioxide specifically. So the same kind of agreement was there. And enhance resilience and adaptation to climate impacts certain to occur, and align financial flows. So these are some of the important agreement. Now, so this is the time after 2016. All make whole world is it aware about the consequences of wasting the energy. So that's why they took the charge and they started to do the work. So classification energy is the first slide where professor also started. So I am also starting from that. So first of all, we can classify the energy by many different kind of means. One is a conventional, non-conventional, primary, secondary. So that kind of you can classify them. But if you just want to classify as a primary energy sources and secondary energy source, then what are the primary energy source? So primary energy source are the source which we directly get as a coal or natural gas, oil, which we directly get out of our mother earth or in the world, and we can directly use it to get the energy. So those are the primary energy source. But once, like if you consider the electricity or heat, if you are using heater or if you are using some products, if people are working in industry, they are using many chemical products, many chemical solvents, so many petroleum products and all. So all these things were synthesized from the primary energy sources, because crude oil, if we can go for the fractionation of crude oil, we'll get the petrol, diesel and all many products. So all are the secondary source of energy, but whatever we'll directly get from the earth and we can directly use it for getting the energy, those all are the primary energy source. So for the example, primary energy source are the crude oil, natural gas, related all the fossil fuels, sometimes waste. As you can know, in the winter season, sometimes if we have the shell of coconut, so what we people generally do in the village and all, so they lit the fire on the coconut shell and they are taking the heat out of it. So that kind of waste is also maybe used for the as a primary energy source. And then if we talk about the geothermal energy, wind energy and hydroelectricity, all are the primary energy source. If we are using this primary energy source and transform them by using any kind of engine, any kind of heating instrument or something, then it got converted into the secondary energy source. So mostly fossil fuels are converted into the petroleum products, fuel gases, and waste, generally waste and other products get converted, like biomass conversion also people are using for the heat generation as well as electricity generation. And you can also get the biofuels. So these are the kind of classification between primary and secondary energy. Now if we talk about the another kind of classification, then it's simple: renewable and non-renewable, which have been taught in our school itself, that some energy source which we use once, it will be not available for us in the future, like all the fossil fuels like coal, oil, natural gas. Even if you talk about the nuclear, like uranium 238, 235, what are we using, even thorium and plutonium, we are extracting the energy out of it by nuclear fission process. So all are, if we once use it, we took out of the earth, once we use it, it will be not available for us in the future. So that's why they all call as a non-renewable sources. But if we talk about what the nature give us in the terms of solar, in terms of wind, tidal or wave, all the natural source of energy, and this is again renewable. We can again use it as many time as we want. So solar in for India, context of India, solar power is much more efficient and useful in India. So it is leading our renewable requirement all over the country by using the solar power. But it's not like that. Geothermal is also renewable. Like whatever energy we are taking from the earth, the earth crust is always providing the thermal energy to the earth if we want to extract out. So that is also considered as a renewable sources. And if we talk about the biomass, so biomass, if we use it by any means, so again and again we can produce the biomass, because it can be produced from the most of the time biomass is generated by the waste material, either it is agriculture waste, animal waste, human waste, any kind of waste. If we are consider, it can be converted into the biomass. So basically biomass, anything which consists carbon or anything which is organic in nature, so that can be used as a biomass. It needs to be has CH thing inside it, so we can convert this into the fuel easily. And we can even from biomass we can extract the hydrogen also. There's are some innovative research is taken place where even from the biomass or sometimes in the wastewater also you can produce hydrogen. So many kind of benefits are there. Now if we talk about the third classification, that obviously as we discussed before, that conventional and non-conventional. Conventional, which we are using since a long, like fossil fuels is the conventional energy sources. After industrial revolution, every country using fossil fuels, oil and oil. Currently people shifted from the coal to oil worldwide. Even India still use coal for some amount of time, because that is the cheapest source which we have. But India has natural gas, and another India is also now depending more on natural gas kind of energy sources. And recently government started that green hydrogen mission, and it has provided the 19,000 crore for specifically production of green hydrogen. So step by step India is also moving towards the attaining the net zero emission. So these are the all fossil fuels is comes under the conventional non-renewable energy. Then we find out that in our ancient time, in India specifically, people are using the cattle dung and firewood, wood, other things to generate the heat and for making their food and all. So and for out of coal, same like a coal, people are making the heat and electricity out of wood also. That kind of thing is also available instantly. So that comes under the renewable energies. Although they are conventional, but they can able to even the wood and all, we can again plant a tree and we'll get it again. But once you will use the petrol or once you use the crude oil, you will not get it again. So that's like in the non-conventional which we recently start using, that are the solar, hydro, wind, nuclear, hydrogen. Hydrogen is in the research stage, but yeah, Gas Authority India Limited will GAIL, which is recently they announced that in next 1 or 2 years they are making the biggest plant of India for the green hydrogen production. So currently we are also moving transition towards the coal and oil to hydrogen and natural gas, and biogas and tidal energy. So actually this is the classification of energy in India people are using for various no, sorry, not in India, it's worldwide. So as a primary energy source, if you are considered, so these are the share of different kind of fuels. So if you talk about the coal, so still world has a 22% of coal as a energy source, and then the most important one is still oil, which is 32%, and third, now at the third place we have natural gas. But slightly after this all COP, Paris Agreement and all, people are transitioning towards the no coal uses and or less coal use for getting achieving the net zero. And you have, as we can see that biomass is just near to the after natural gas, and in the future, because people will move towards the coal to biomass, then biomass will increase their share at least equivalent to natural gas in 2040 or 2050. Then we have significant amount of nuclear worldwide. If you talk about, then Europe is using nuclear at a very high scale, because solar and all it's not possible in Europe. Hydro and other renewable energy sources 2%. So this is basic classification. Now if you just want to take care about India, as I took the photos from and many organizations report published from the many organizations. So I took the name, I didn't actually crop the name as well as organization name and the title. So you will also get it, it's all available in the internet. So if we talk about the India, then still India is still using 52% coal as a primary energy source, and all our thermal power stations are at the major stake to providing the electricity all around the India. But if you talk about that other sources, then natural gas now it's in the phase where in the future we'll more rely on the natural gas than coal. Oil will be there. Then solar, if you talk about the renewable section, then if you just neglect this nuclear, then hydropower 13-10, wind 10% wind and 15% solar. So 38% of our energy consumption is coming out of the renewable. This is a very impressive thing, and in future it will be definitely increase when we include the biomass into this. Now, so this is one important report which was published recently, actually in 2020, and they just compare uh, between 2015 and 2035. So if you can see at 2035, India's energy consumption growth to be highest among major economies. So India is a developing country. Obviously, now we required a large source of energy to produce, to make the. Currently, India is more into the service business. India needs to be going to the manufacturing thing. So we will manufacture each and everything in India. It will be like, it will be necessary if you want to go for the net zero challenge. So that required a huge amount of energy, and currently in India in 2015 it was at 701 metric ton of energy, metric tons of energy requirement. Then it will shift to the 1603, almost more than double. So it's a 129%. So you can understand that worldwide India required a major chunk of energy. So now for that particular thing, if you see the US, then US is already developed country. It is for US, they not require many sources for many other things, because the economies got saturated. So let me admit people. Yeah. So that's why if you talk about the US, then US only 1% change is there. If we talk about 2035, China is again developing economy, and China is one of the major economy. So in future also China required a huge amount of energy. So if we just evaluate that this much amount of energy worldwide is required, so if we talk about the world, then 31% more energy required in 2035. So then at that time we don't have the fossil fuels which we have currently. Conventional sources will be very, very less. Conventional sources which are not renewable. So then we whole worldwide people needs to think about how they can gather the energy and how they can extract the energy and how they can use. So this is just the realistic pictures, so people can able to understand the importance of energy and how we can distribute, and how we can measure things in the consumption and saving of energy. Now, so these all are currently, if we can see that climate change is the major thing. If just one day back, I think yesterday only, Turkey has hit very badly by earthquake. More than, I don't know the official number, but more than 3-4 thousand people got died. So all these things, maybe somewhere to other, it is connected with the climate change. So we need to understand these things. That's why this in the first chapter itself, you need to understand why this kind of urgency is there around the world. So this is the, if you can see, this is the graph. This is not that much important graph, but we are just understanding that in this particular graph they consider the Middle East, Africa, Asia Pacific, Europe, America, Eurasia, different kind of bunch of countries or bunch of nations. So some nations, some countries are the gas exporters and some are the gas importers. India is also a major gas importer because we don't have the resource of the, or we don't have the natural gas in our beneath the sea or any other way, so we can use it. So you can see that exporters, how much they are they are generating the emissions, and how much importers are generating. So obviously importers are somewhat at the back end currently. As you see this blue part, which is Asia Pacific and Europe, they are still importing the gas from the gas exporters, and they are using, like if Russia Ukraine war happened at that time, whole Europe required that natural gas and all, and they all are suffer. So that's why Europe is still under gas importing nations, and we are, as you can see, we are not that much responsible for emission. But if you just see the number in future, then it will be definitely these gas importers are the much more prone to the gas emissions than the gas exporters, because gas exporters are already developed countries. So these are the some that we don't need to go for the much detail, otherwise we'll skip our time then. Better we'll discuss the other things. So this kind of graphs already professor also showed in his presentation. So basically I took the 2019 International Energy Analysis report. In that similar kind of thing, that coal, hydro, oil, different energy sources which are the primary energy sources currently in the world, and this is the journey of their uses from 1971 to 2019. So as you can see, the coal is still increasing up until 2014, 13, 14, you can say, and after that it gets saturated. If you talk about the oil is still increasing in the near future. The demand of oil is still will be there. Natural gas has a very high growth in the nearby 10 to 20 years, and then it will take the saturation after that. And if you talk about the biofuels and waste, which we have interest, then it will be definitely increasing, and it's a worldwide. So as you can see, it will take very much high time to saturate the demand of biomass energy from the biomass or biofuels, because after gas will be saturation, it will achieve the saturation, we will rely on the biomass and nuclear in the future more than the conventional fossil fuels. So if we talk about the share of world in total energy, then if we consider the 1973 and 2019, so the picture is more or less same. Coal is 24.7, still it has a 26. One major change come from the oil was too much high at that time, approximately near to 50%, like 46.2%. Currently we are only using 30% oil, as after shale gas and natural gas boom, people shifted from the liquid based fuel to the gaseous based fuel. Why? What is the reason? So if anyone asks you, or maybe if you want to understand, so oil has a very high emissions of carbon dioxide, methane, and many things. Why? Because oil has a very high carbon chain. Okay, so when you crack it also, then it will be in the chain form only. You will get the methane out of it, but it is a very less amount of methane. You will get petrol, diesel, everything has a high carbon chain material. So it is unsaturated. Many of time if you just take the oil, then it has a double bond CH kind of sorry. Okay, so that kind of arrangements. So once we burn this kind of long chain molecules, they will give you to the they convert saturation non-saturated out of from non-saturated to the saturated. Then you will get the high amount of emissions of CO2, sulfur, many kind of materials are indefinite. If you talk about the natural gas, then it consists the 4 hydrogen. So one thumb rule is there: number of carbon is more in your fuel, it is much more highly polluted. If you talk about the coal, it is only carbon. If you move to the liquid fuels like oil, then it has some hydrogen in it. So amount of hydrogen is increasing, and the carbon is reducing. The fuel is much more cleaner. Oh, sorry, it's not working. Wait. So actually it is not working currently, my laptop. Anyway, so that's why world understand that liquid based fuel is much more polluting than the gas based, so they shift to the natural gas then. But if you talk about the other sources, then nuclear is obviously increased, hydro is more or less same, and biofuel, before that biofuel are much more in the picture of energy source, as an energy source, but currently it is decreasing. But once we shift natural gas to biofuel, then again it will increase, and then all these, both of these things will be sync in the future. So top 5 countries by total final consumption of gas energies. So as you can see, India is at the third place. So we currently see that at emission, although Asia is not that much, but if we talk about the India, because India has a very high population, we have 1.4, maybe more than 1.4 billion people. So we are emitting, we are using energy at a very high scale than the other countries. United States is the second one, and obviously China is the first one. So this is the top 5 countries which are, we don't want to go for the sectors. If you just want to see, that China is much more in the industrial sector. India is still using the more energy into industrial as well as residential sector. But if you talk about the transport, then US is very high consumption of energy in the transport. So this kind of top 5 countries are there. But if you see the consumption by subsectors, then this is much more important. Like more amount of our energy got used, if you talk about India, then iron and steel manufacturing. And India will require steel in the nearby future, at least nearby 20-30 years, because we are developing, we will go to the manufacturing. We will convert our country to provide the manufacturing solutions. So we'll build many businesses out of the manufacturing industry. So we require the steel. But if you talk about the US, then US is already developed. They don't have to more exposed to the steel and iron than us. If you go about the chemicals, then US require more chemical business. And if you talk about the India is much more in the iron, steel, paper, pulp, as well as industry, which are not related to the chemicals. So in this, the major chunk of energy will be used. Okay, so let's do it in fast. And okay, so this is the slide. It was there in the professor's presentation. So basically, what are the possible futures actually? So what happened worldwide? People did different kind of calculation, and they make the different kind of policies. So if people are follow that kind of policies, then what will be the future? How much energy will be left at the end of the 2050 or 2040? They have forecasting data of all the different kind of scenarios. So generally, after watching this kind of slides, or after seeing this kind of slides, we definitely ask ourselves that what if the world continues on its current path, and will, after this Paris agreement, all countries are aware, but suppose all of them are not working towards to make it net zero worldwide, then what will be the changes? What will be the future of Earth? What if we reflect today's policy intention and targets? This is the stated policy scenario. So there are 2-3 different kind of scenario you need to consider. One is a stated policy scenario where we use the current policy. Suppose government currently in India, they are asking that you will all the states that please do give the subsidy on solar and all. So it will be not the case every time. After 20 years, 30 years, they will focus on more on hydrogen maybe, or maybe on the biomass or some other sources rather than just solar. Currently, we are getting the much more subsidy, more benefits, more policy, which is effective to the solar. So it will be just, we talk about the India. If we talk about the global level, then every country has different kind of policy according to their climate and according to their needs. So if we follow that kind of policy throughout the next 20-30 years, then what will be the case? So that is known as a stated policy scenario. If we go for the new policy, because we need to revise our policy after 2 years, 3 years, or maybe in situation, government is every year they are changing the policies. So if we change the policy to adapt the future requirement of energy, as well as if we want to reduce the future carbon emission, then what will be the scenario? Other than that, what if we meet sustainable energy goals in full? Like these are the goals of that climate should be temperature of the earth should be below 1.5, below 2 degree. These are the goals. There are many goals. 17 goals are there from the UN itself. So if we want to meet all this kind of goal, then we don't need to use the current policy. We have to be proactive in that case. So we have to develop the policy which will be useful in the future. It's a future also. Like some policy which will be currently, it will be not useful, but it will be required for the future. So that kind of, if we use the sustainable development scenario, some of the developed countries like Norway, as well as Netherlands and 2-3 countries started using this kind of sustainable development scenario, because those country has very less population and they have all the sufficient amount of geothermal energy and nuclear energy for themselves to be energy independent. So they can think 2 step ahead of the countries like India, where we are just struggling our primary energy sources currently requirement. So global primary energy demand plateaus after 2035 despite strong population. So this is a very strong statement, and this is a actually logical fact. And if we want to go for the net zero by 2070, then after 2030 or 2030 itself, we need to whatever the energy requirement which we are using, or whatever the energy demand is there, we need to plateau that graph. In that sense, means currently it is in the increasing mode, it should be in the constant mode. So we can and that is a logical fact. By the calculation of different organizations, they are telling that after 2030 itself it will start plateauing. And why? Because penetration of renewable energy source will be coming. So why this energy source is more important? Because renewable energy source, its name suggests, we can again and again we can make it after using it. So that's why we don't run out of the energy, although we have the gigantic amount of population all over the world. But we cannot run out of the energy because we are more into the renewable one. So that's why the energy demand will be meeting to the. Another thing is our gas emission, carbon emission will be also lower down. In addition, a decline in energy intensity of economies across geographies offset the increase in energy demand needed to support a growing population with increasing income levels, especially in emerging markets. So India is currently emerging economy. Many African country, if you think currently India is at the place, in the future the African countries will be there. If we talk about the 10 years before, China is at the place where we are currently. So once we get development and we are going to the developed, we can become the developed country, then what we will do, we are using this kind of energy sources, and we can also fulfill the energy demand from the another kind of segment of countries which are the emerging, for example Africa. So if we talk about the electricity consumption, which is the major chunk of the energy is got wasted or it got utilized all around the world. If you talk about the foreign countries, in India we are not using heaters that much often, but we are using air conditioning currently. But if you go to foreign European, Canada, US, in even Russia, they have the very low temperature in the winter, and even in their summer also the temperature is not that much tropical like in India. So what is the problem? They have to be rely on heater and that kind of energy consumption instrument, which are mainly running from the electricity currently. So their electricity consumption much more be higher. And if we just talk about the 2050, then it will be double. This is the all around the world. So then we need to use the renewable to generate that amount of energy, or maybe you can say 50% of electricity generation will be comes out of renewable, so we can make up by using our renewable, and then we can lower down the emissions. So this may be one of the goal. Now, so this is the international McKinsey energy insights of global energy perspective. Here it's nothing, it's not that much difficult to understand. Here they just take the very long time period from 1850 to 2050. If you talk about the before in colonialization era, or before this industrial revolution and all, we are just people, even that in that time healthcare center is also not that much sound, so people have very less lifetime. So that time population is always under control, and at that time, until and unless the industrialization not started, the energy requirement is much lower down. But once that industrialization in the western economies got started from UK and France, maybe French Revolution and UK Revolution, then before that people are using biomass for the energy sources. In India also, if you know, in the ancient time, if some of you maybe know, or if you just go through some videos or some movies also, so they are not using this induction and different kind of gas stoves and all. They are using wood, coal and cow dung and all for making the food, for taking the for making the hot water or something. So that's why at that particular time period we are highly depend on the biomass, but currently we are not. But after that, once the coal and oil was started in 1900, oil got discovered and people are using oil, and they build up the engine to use the oil into to transform the oil into energy. Then to 1950 you can see that energy requirement will be increased. But after 1950, after Second World War, and after the many free countries, of freedom movement was there in all the worldwide nations. So after this decolonization of UK, and so you can see that unprecedentedly high standard of living was increased in the western. This is all the western, and now we need to suffer because of them. They actually, that is a harsh word, but actual reality is that they use that energy resources in a such extent that it is problematic to the mother earth. One and first most important thing, India started industrialization and all after 1991. We have that thing, and after 2000, if you consider, then China and India started afterwards. But if you can see what amount of energy they are using before that. Now, if we want to develop our nations, like all the developing nations currently, if they want to develop themselves, they have to rely on the energy. Now, because of already climate change and global warming issue, now western countries ask us to don't use the energy sources which will be which will create more amount of emissions. So now how we can develop? So we don't have other way to use the renewables, as well as we have to cut down our fossil fuels, and we need to switch to renewable at least 40%, as it is mentioned over here. So till 2050, worldwide energy requirement will be come from the 34% of the renewables, or many European countries started using the nuclear. But that nuclear energy is not renewable. They need to understand that thing. Anyway, so this is the primary energy demand from worldwide. Now, if we talk about, I will not go to much same kind of data again and again. I am thinking that if it is different than the previous one, then I only go. And some I need to add because some other assignment questions are directly from this data. So that's why I added sub data. So if you talk about top 5 countries by total energy supplies, before that we see that total energy consumption, in that India is there. And still if you see the total energy supply, then also India is still there. Obviously India, whatever energy produced by the India, it is used in India itself in a larger extent. But yeah, if you can see, then the third position again India is there. First is always China, because of their policies and their government. They are not democratic, so they are make that kind of policy that everyone has to be follow. And that is only one reason that China is too much ahead of us. Barely 20 years before, China and India is together around 1990s. But current after that they change everything and they surpass US and they become the largest economy worldwide. After that, United States. But still, if you see one thing, then China is highly depend on. Wait 1 minute. Okay. Sorry. I got stop recording in between. I just want to check. Yeah. So still it is highly dependent on the coal. So if you can understand, currently the highest pollution making country is that no other than the China, because it is using coal at a very high extent. And after that, if you just see the coal in the India is that second place to use the higher amount of coal, and then US, and then Russia and Japan. If you see the natural gas, then US is definitely high. Why? Because US has a very high amount of shale gas reservoir in his. What happened 20 years before? US is not the one of the major exporter of the natural gas, but then they did the research and they found that they have the shale gas reservoir. Shale gas means shells are the stones, or you can say the big fossils which has a natural gas inside it, in the adsorbed form or in the trap form. So if they can dig it up to there, they can able to get it out. So once they found that they have a huge amount of shale gas, then they become the one of the major country other than OECD to export the natural gas. Then India has very low amount of natural gas. But if you talk of the renewables, then we are proud that we have more. Our energy consumption is more from the renewable than the US, and Russia is very less because the climate is much more difficult in Russia, same as like Japan. But China is also using the renewable at a very high extent. So their plan is also shifting from the coal to the renewable in the future. Now, so total final consumption, if you can see the same thing here, maybe these are the same slide. I think this graph is the same. We will not go into the detail, but I think that was a 2017. This is I think 2019. That's it. Let's go to the policy impact. So we saw the different kind of policy. Whatever the policy currently which we are using, that will be follow. Then what will be the scene after some time? And if we use the sustainable development policy, or if we go for the new policy. So currently here in this you can see the only two different kind of policy. We are not following the policy which we are currently follow in the future. So if you just go through the policies which are like, as I discussed, currently India is following that solar energy will be the there are many policies in the favor of solar energy, but we need to change it in the future. That's why that will be the case of new policy. If we will introduce the new policies, then what will be the energy consumption by sector? Then building and agriculture has 35%. This is a worldwide. Industry has 30 and transport has 28.7. And then it required 12,581 metric ton of energy. Then if you go for million ton of energy, not metric. So, and if you some part is the different other part, then which will not comes into this three major area, that will be considered non-energy use. That may be the waste of the energy, or the energy which we are using, which is that directly comes into any kind of sector. But if you follow the sustainable development scenario, now if someone asks me that which kind of new policies are there, which kind of sustainable development scenario are, so we can't say anything or we can't predict anything, because it depends on the country to country and nation to nation, and available energy resources and what is the capacity of import export of that particular country, and what is the population of particular country, and whether it is a developed or whether it is an underdeveloped or it is a developing country. So because according to that they will make their policy. If you just change the policy by time and all, then they require a large amount of energy. But if they follow the sustainable development scenario, then the sector wise distribution is more or less same. Industry is 32, highest one is go for industry, then building 31, and transport is 26, and non-use is 10.3. But if you can see the energy which will require, which 9,000 million ton, 9,900, so 10,000 million ton, which will be lower. So in this sustainable energy saving must be there. So you have to work upon the energy savings. So that's why if we follow this kind of policy, then definitely in 2040 it will be beneficial for us. The same thing, this is a comparison between 2018 and 2040. If we just follow the stated policies, which are stated policy which we are currently follow, that currently what are the policies are there. So what happened? So the demand is still nearby or still increased. If we just follow the same policies, then oil will be from 4600, it will go to 4900. Then natural gas 3500 to 4500. So everything, all the fossil fuels are still there if we just stick to our existing policy. If we will not change the policy according to our requirement. So this is highly unlike scenario. No one wanted to go in this. So everyone wanted to at least go for this one new policy, or better if you want to go for the sustainable. So because if you just follow the current policy, then obviously more than 50% will be comes from the fossil fuels and very less from the renewables. Now, so same thing as we discussed, stated policies, sustainable development, and current policies. So stated, and what is the difference between stated and current policies? Like stated policies is the another name of the new policy. If you can see, so new policy, or it will be the decided by the global level. Like stated policies are the policy which currently we have the 17 goals from the UN and all. So if we just follow it, then it will be helpful than the current policy, but still it is not as much efficient as sustainable development. So if you don't able to understand these policies, and also you have to just understand that there are three kind of policies. One is the policy which as currently we are using. Another policies which we are changing by now and then when we are required. And the third is the policy which is a sustainable policy. In this we will switch from the gas, oil or coal to the renewables. So that's it. Now sector-wise fuel consumption, these are the four. There are some questions out of this sector-wise fuel consumption, so that's why I just put the charts. But maybe in the first chapter there will be no more doubts related to the questions in the assignments. They are very easy. So if you just see the coal, then coal is obviously iron and steel required a high amount of energy to production of steel. So this is the data of 1971 to 2019. So higher amount of iron and steel is there. And another, if you just see, then non-metallic minerals, almost industrial sector required, or more manufacturing sector required a higher amount of coal for getting the energy. And other than that, chemical, petrochemical industry, other industry, and then comes to the residential. But and some are of the non-specified. Better we'll go to the next one. So same with this oil. If you just the oil is at the transport section at the high end, very high. So like petrol and diesel which we are using from 1970s to 2020, the major part of the India and world is covered by the oil. So that's why if you see, the oil has a very high in the transportation sector. And if we just go to the other sectors, so then non-energy use as well as some industry and aviation required a high amount. If you go to the another Natural gas, yeah. So natural gas will be in the future. It will be future of the for the at least next 15 years, 10 to 15 years, or world will be rely on the natural gas as one of the primary energy source. So in but natural gas is unlike the oil and oil which we are using the transportation. Natural gas is not used for the transportation mainly by the major countries. So they are using for the power generation and for industrial processes. Industry is much it's similar to the power generation, because every industry required the steam and all. So they are using the boiler which are running from the natural gas. In India also, government asked all the industries to switch from the coal based boiler or coal based power plant if they have, through the natural gas based power plant, once natural gas is available to particular location. So many of the power plant is started switching also. Even thermal power plant is also currently is in the transition to go for the natural gas based. Then residential. So in future also this residential industry will be the higher one for the natural gas, and the others are very less uses. If you go for the electricity, then obviously industrial. If you want to develop a country or world in a larger extent, then industry sector will be required a high amount of energy, high amount of electricity to generate the manufacturing in the manufacturing industries. And after that, the residential and the commercial services. So these are now okay. So maybe we already 1 hour completed and we all are little bit bored. So I have one video. I don't know that we can able to see it or not. Yeah. So this is a simple video from the International Energy Assessment Organization. So this is just for the entertainment purpose, and you can understand, not even entertainment in the sense that we are not able to focus more. So better you will see the video and we'll see that how they are using this videos and all for the making the awareness towards the world. If you just go through the YouTube or the YouTube channel from the British Petroleum or International Energy Assessment Organization or the UIS United States Information System and all, they are making many kind of videos from the countries and from the world, which will be helpful to other countries also. Like in some country develop something, and if they will make the aware other countries to that kind of situation, then they can also take the benefits out of that in technology. So let's see that this video. This is the story of renewables, only 2 minutes video, but they are telling that what is the current status and how it will be useful in future. So this is that means it's there are no any kind of voice or speaking coming in this video. We will just have to read and understand. So in 2025 the energy requirement will be much more higher. So we have to keep alive the possibility to limiting our global warming limit below 1.5 degrees centigrade. And Europe, look, one thing happened as we started from the Paris. So why I add this video? There are many videos, but why I add this video? Because till now Europe doesn't understand the importance of sustainable energy development. So I am not telling this thing. This is this is the fact actually, and everyone accept that thing. Europe is highly dependent on the Russia gas, energy and gas from the Russia. So once this Ukraine war happened last year, after that all over the Europe countries got realized that it is a very actually high time, we need to shift from the we need to reduce the dependency of the energy sources from outside and we need to do the self dependent. Why we are telling to Europe? Because Europe, there are many countries in Europe which are much more developed, and they have very less population. I just want to tell you my personal experience. I went to the Germany in the last year, August. So what happened? It was a part of one conference. So what happened? Germany, in the Germany, people knows before and that what are the technology which if they want to go for this independent into the energy, if they want to use the natural gas from nearby other countries and all, they can able to do it, or if they can able to develop their nuclear resources. But somehow they are getting the oil and gas and oil from the Russia. They did not take any actions in that direction. But in that particular because we all know that all over world is using technology, most of the German technology, many things got developed because of Germany. So all of uh, worldwide people understand that Germany is not that kind of country that it required so much amount of time to develop itself. It can easily develop in if in the case of the natural gas and other things. So what happened currently? I talked with one person from the government in the Germany. He told me that in Germany till now we are not bothering about this energy crisis. But once this war happened, what we did, we are developing our first natural gas terminal, and we are importing the natural gas from the Middle East or from other Qatar and all. And because we don't have any other option left. Another thing, Germany is in crisis in the next winter, means this winter which is going on in currently, which is winter. This is winter time in Germany. For this particular winter, they don't have the sufficient amount of energy. As I told you, they are highly dependent on the heating appliances. So they don't have that kind of energy that they can able to generate the electricity and they use in the heaters. So there was a very high time for them, and for within a 2, 3, or 5 months they develop this whole natural gas pipeline, and they will use the natural gas from the Middle Eastern country, and they will develop their whole natural gas terminal within 6 months. In India, we already have, in India we have natural gas terminal, LNG terminal, where we are getting the natural gas from the Qatar and different countries. We already have since 10 12 years, 12 years before, even 20 years before, we have from the Dahej and all. So we already developed that kind of technology, but still Europe didn't develop. Why? Because they are too much careless there, because they got already oil and other thing from this. So why I am telling you, there's this war is the has created the events which are the eye opening for all around the world. Then because of this war, now every country thinks about the energy security first, other than all other thing. France, Switzerland is still currently, they are also have very less energy resources left in their country. So this because they are highly dependent from the Russia. So this may be one good lesson from them for them. So that kind of thing will be now every country is energy conscious, and they are using the energy independent in the future. It will be helpful to all around the world. So this may be important incidents happen in the past. Countries to boost energy security. And India and US are implementing the policy designed to combat the energy crisis. The good thing is worldwide they are recognizing India and US, that they are making the policies for the current energy sources as well as in the future forecasting. So as you can see, the green hydrogen and everything is coming in the India. It is a very promising thing for the India, and China is set to the renewable additions for the next 5 years. So that's how this war will save the world. Solar PV is globally initiated. Highest amount of solar energy is got in Middle East. They are also focusing currently. So while this is a clear example, current energy crisis will be helpful to go for the cleaner and secure energy. So that's why worldwide people are going for the net zero in 2050. But India, as we are developing country, and we will still depend on the coal, so it will take some time, and we promise 2070. So why I saw this video, particularly the incidents happen. Otherwise, if this war would not happen, then everyone still is carefree, and still we are exploiting the nature. Now, bright future for renewables in India. So these are the some very important policies which were developed. Why they are told that in that video that India has a very high policy market, India and US. So we have green hydrogen policy, we have solar module manufacturing by our own country, energy storage, green energy corridor, general network, market based economic dispatch, and many different kind of policies which we developed. And that there we have the private players along with the government which are helping them. And if you talk about the okay, another thing, then India invested $14.5 billion in renewables. So in the last year, 2021 to 2022 a year. So that is a very huge number, and before the war at least. So and they have this company, private companies, private bond, private equity. Investment means government invested their its money to this kind of companies, and the company also invest. Means it is not only from the government itself, it is from the government as well as private self. Both the side come together, and they invested this much amount of money to renewables, to developing the renewable plants, to utilization of renewables. And even you talk about the Reliance, HPCL, they develop the high level research and development centers for the renewables. Reliance currently set up the Reliance Renewables, the new company itself. HPCL has a very high R&D center at Bangalore. So this is how they started investing, and India started investing in renewables. That's why we will be use 50% of our energy from the renewables in nearby future. Now CO2 emission forecast. It's not that much difficult. We will not go to the much more detail. So if you want to go for the net zero, so this is actually emissions. This is a gigaton of CO2 which is emitted. So if we want to go for a net zero, so whatever the countries are emitted, they need to sequester or store or utilize. There are three things. You can store CO2, you can utilize, and this is another is a sequestration. So sequestration of CO2. So store CO2 what is that mean? And store means you can, whatever the emission is coming, you can use that kind of chemicals medium or physical medium where you can store the CO2, and then you can transport to another place. Or there are many things where in which you can store the CO2. Utilize of CO2. So CO2, if you utilize the CO2, you can make the methane out of CO2. You can generate the another, if you just follow the reactions, then it will be helpful to making the other products from the CO2. That is a utilization. And sequestration is, we will take the CO2, we will bury it down under the earth, under the sea, or under the earth, and that will be the sequestration of CO2. So these three is combinedly people give the name is CCUS, I think. Carbon capture is the store, sequestration, and carbon capture, store, and sequester. So first they have to capture. Okay, obviously it's not store. First from the medium itself they have to capture, they have to store for a longer period of time, and sequester is, once you sequester it, you don't have to be worried about it for the future. And there is CCUS. So carbon capture, utilization, store. In the capture, utilization and sequestration. So in this, capture means store, utilize or sequester. So this kind of government funding is there for the this kind of research which people are doing. And there are 5 or 6 plants. You can go to the Google and check. There are 5 or 6 plants. They can capture the carbon. They are using carbon in the another fuel in the India itself. So there are many things are there. It's not that much important for us, so we can leave it. But that is the one thing. If you want to go for in 2015 net zero, then 1.5 gigaton of carbon capture at power plants. Almost 70% of electricity will come from the wind and solar, and 90% of electricity from renewable. Any of this can be achieved, then only we can say that it will net zero. Same thing, CO2 emission forecast. If you just see the CO2 emission from which industry it will come up to 2050. So major industry is the cement and steel. This is the highest emission of CO2. These two industry has the highest CO2 emission. Always remember. And chemical industry and other industry has the other part of out of it, obviously. So what you have to done if you want to reduce the emission? So maybe if you just focus on the cement, then clinker to cement ratio you have to reduce, and CO2 needs to be stored. Whatever emission is coming out, you need to store it back. And if you go for the steel, then 96% carbon primary steel production will be near zero carbon. Means whatever the carbon you are producing in the steel production, you need to take care of it. You don't need to put it into the environment. Other steps are there in between, which you want, if you want to see, you can see. And I can share this presentation also with you guys if you want, or maybe I don't know that you will get this presentation or not. So if you want, just let me know. I will send to you by mail. I already saw my mail. So, and I will write my mail ID in chat box if you want to. Shreya has a question. There is a numerical question assignment to how to solve that. Sorry Shreya, but I need to cover the week 1 syllabus today. But I will ask my fellow that he will solve in the his section in maybe in Friday. I think he is taking the Friday, so he can able to help you in that. Or if you still don't understand, then what happen? I am writing my mail ID. I can't able to do it in this session because I will record it and send to the NPTEL. So if they will see that second week content is there, then it will be difficult for me to take answer it. But I am sharing my mail ID here and my WhatsApp number. So don't call me directly. You can drop a message. And 1-2 days I am busy, but after 2 days I will help you. Anyone has the numerical question problem, I already share my WhatsApp number as well as mail ID in the chat box of this meeting. So you can take note of both of it, and just drop a message to me. I will help you to how to solve it. Actually, it's not difficult for me, but currently I can't say in this lecture to that. Okay, hope you understand. Today is the last day for second assignment or first assignment. Can you just see? I think second assignment has till the next week deadline. Okay. So currently just I finished the lecture. Just you drop a message in one of that mail or message. I will help you by tonight or tomorrow morning if possible. So okay. So now there is a IPCC report has come in between. So what is the IPCC? Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. So it is saying that how this temperature is increasing by zigzag format, and after from 1960 to 2020, and after that, if we not reduce it in a proper manner, then if we use the CO2 reduction, then it will be lower down this 1.5 degrees centigrade limit. If it will be if it not reduce, then it will be going to the warning of more than 1.5 degrees centigrade. So this is the how you have to if you don't reduce the CO2, then you have to face the challenges. And this is a slide I took from the professor itself, because there are questions, simple questions are from this kind of details. So environmental impacts of different kind of fuels. If you talk about the coal, then what is the CO2 emission? 200 pounds, which is the highest number. And power availability, if you just go for the coal, anytime you can take the power. It will be environmentally impacted the environment, water, and all kind of pollutions can be done with the use of coal. If you go for a natural gas, then land pollution must be not be there, but it's still non-renewable source, and it can be used anytime, but it is reducing from 200 to 130 pound. If in nuclear, wind, solar, water, and any kind of water reservoir or streaming, all has a zero CO2 emissions. But out of it, we can only use nuclear and water. If seasons are tropical climate and climate are fine, we can use for the whole year. But if we talk about wind and solar, it is highly unlikely to use whole year, because sun is not available for throughout the year, and same with the wind. But if you can see the environmental impact, it can still, wind can also happen for the bird killing, noise issues are there. If you go for the solar, it has high energy use in the manufacture. If you want to manufacture solar, while developing the solar plate itself, you are wasting so much amount of CO2, you are wasting so much energy, then what is the use of that taking care of energy again back? So it is a loss and loss scenario. So okay, let's go then. Will not now. There are only some slides for the biomass, and then we can shut it down. Actually, they asked me to take it for the 2 hours, but it's very difficult. I think everyone will not stay up to 2 hours, but I will try. So to finish it off in next 20 minutes, I guess. So in biomass energy in world primary energy sources, if you will see that it has a significant amount of energy in every million barrel of equivalent a day. If you just see the blue part, so it has some amount of energy before, and in future it is very highly we have to depend on it, and this nature gas and all needs to be constant and in the degradation after 2040. Now we see the biomass potential for energy use. Then which kind of biomass, these are now we will focusing on more on the biomass thing. And there are many kind of biomass. Actually, what is a biomass? Biomass is the any material which is organic material which we can get from the agriculture, which we can get from the degraded land, residues, surplus agriculture manure, forest residue, or any kind of organic waste. So then this is amount of energy per joule, energy joule will be available out of it. So this is just for the information. But in the 2050 we have to depend on all this, and highest number is come of the biomass production on surplus agriculture land. Now biomass based industry, if you want to see what is the biomass sources, then the sewage, municipal solid waste, animal residue, industrial residue, and forest as well as agriculture. These are the bigger sources. And if you just go into detail, then sewage has there are numbers of the sewage. 960 tons of urban sludge is being treated, 80 metric tons in sludge is generated every day. This is data of not only for India, this is some data published on the report. If you go to the municipal solid waste, then 500 tons per day in Dhaka city, so it's in Bangladesh. By 2025 the may reach 15,000 tons. And agriculture is still has a higher 269 million cubic meters, and biogas can be produced from it. Forest residue has a high amount. Forest residue means we have the wood and all out of forest, and we can go for the animal manure also. So these are the sources of biomass. Now why it is important, I took some slides from the professor, but I will not read it out all because you already visited the lecture. The IRENA, Global Renewable Energy Roadmap, they show it, and in that they mentioned that renewable energy could account for 36% of total energy in 2030 itself. So total energy, whatever the amount of energy which we are using, the 36% out of it will be used by the renewable itself, which will be double than the 2010 level. Biomass has an auspicious future. Obviously, by 2030, biomass could account for 60% of the total final renewable. Out of all the renewable energy, 60% will be the biomass. These are all predictions. Maybe it will be true, or maybe we will require less, or we will get more. That we will see in the future itself. In 2010, we have 53 hexajoules of biomass. Global biomass demand was there for using this much. But much of this was related to traditional uses, but now which is the industry, transport and heating. Now in 2030 it will be increased up to 108 hexajoule energy joule, and then it will be utilized for the biofuel production. And some global countries like China, US, India, Brazil, Indonesia are the account of the 56% total biomass in 2030. These are all the predictions for the 2030. Now, other than that, it is switched from the 97 exajoule to 147 exajoule per year. And there are every sector is showing the almost double growth, and every country also. So trade will be the higher in this. There are many challenges to address in biomass dependent supply. International trade as well as the substitution of its traditional use in the realizing such high growth rates. So it will be more into trade. Like currently we are trading the oil and natural gases. In future maybe we'll trade the biomass energy, biomass. So that can be that will be not any surprise if it will be there. Okay, so it will be stepping stone of global renewable energy resources, obviously, because it is plenty available in everywhere. It's not like that sun is always Europe, Russia, Canada has not sun all over the year, but they have the waste all over the year. So they can use their waste and they can generate the energy out of it. So as you can see, China, India, Brazil, US, Indonesia, Russia are the major chunks of the player which we are depending on the this biomass, and they have the highest demand of biomass rather than the other countries from the Europe mainly and from the Middle East and African continent. So in that also solid, traditional, liquid, different kind of biomass, what is the percentage which is there in this graph. And if you just go for the which kind of biomass sources will be helpful, then you can see when we shift from the 97 to 147 exajoule, then energy crops will be there, but not as like in currently which we have. Then animal household waste will be high and fuel wood will be high. These are some data, so you can't able to discuss much more in that. And this is a global supply curve for primary biomass. As you can see, these are the energy crop. Energy crop, what is the energy crop? If you know that, maybe there is one, I don't know the actual spelling, Jatropha is there. This kind of crop are there which you can't use for the food intake. So they are not eatable because they have some toxic value in it, so you can't eat it directly, but you can make it biodiesel out of it. As per my knowledge, biodiesel or any kind of, let's say, biofuel, not go for the much more detail. So that is those are known as the energy crops. Other than that, harvesting rates, residue, whatever we are harvesting in our agriculture, they have the residue, processing residue, biogas, fuel wood, and wood waste. So different kind of, but highest number of is still these are the potential export and import. It will be come from this fuel wood as well as energy crop. And this is the continent wise. If you see Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, Latin America, and Pacific, then the highest demand is from the demand is from the Asia itself, because Asia has the two giant countries. One is India, another is China. They are driving all these data. And for the Asian, we have the highest population, so we definitely we have high demand, and we have very low supply than this. Now, what are the influencer factors for biomass price? That how this price will be taken care of. So, if demand will be increased, then it will be possible to hike in the price or lower down in the price. So, what are the sub factors? How this demand increase happen? Population will increase, policies will be changed, biofuel expansion, like government started expanding the industry related to biofuels, increase the production cost. So if the production cost of this biofuel, because some innovative technology we need to develop, it will increase, then the cost will be affected. Supply will be decreased, then also probably the cost affected. If you have low stocks, we have very low stock of the biofuel. Suppose some country have very less amount of stock in which we can available, which they can use for the as a biomass, then that can affect the biomass price and the market dynamics. Obviously, if you are using the oil gas everywhere, market will be the major part which can affect your price as well as the future. So this is the biomass to bioenergy routes. We will not go into much more detail, but as you can see, so what biomass, what we are getting, which is from the nature itself. Our trees are doing the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide in the presence of carbon dioxide and water, and we'll get the glucose and more organic molecules out of it, as well as oxygen will be released. It's a very school science. Then it will convert it into biomass. Then there are four biomass: weight, solid biomass, sugar and starch plants, and oil crop plants. There are many kind of biomass which we can use, but these are the major categories. So if you use the weight biomass and do the fermentation, then you can able to get the biogases as well as hydrogen, methane, and you can use the in the electricity devices. If you go for the solid biomass, then you have to use this kind of technology: gasification, combustion, pyrolysis, hydrolysis, which we will see in our future, which kind of technology which we are using for converting this biomass into the fruitful biofuels and bioenergy, the fuel gas and pyrolytic oil and all. So if you have sugar and starch, anything which has starch in it, we have to go for the hydrolysis. And if you have crops like some oil based crops, so we can, like corn, sunflower, soybean, so we can extract the oil out of it, and then from that oil, if you do the transesterification reaction, it's a very famous reaction, then you can make it biodiesel, which will know more, we will go into the detail in subsequent lectures. But currently you have to just see that it is a very vast area, and at the end it will go to either in the heat or electricity or the biofuel, as heat will be going to heating, electricity for electrical device, and biofuel will be directly into transport. But all has CO2 emissions in itself, which you have to take care of it. That is the main biomass to bioenergy routes. Now what are the challenges? So there are many kind of challenges. If we talk the first is the operational challenge, where feedstock unavailability, as we know that not all countries has this facility for agriculture waste or some kind of waste, or they have the land to go for the energy crops and all. So it is not always possible to go for the feedstocks. So inefficient resource management or the government non-intervention approaches. So currently, if government will be not giving you the subsidies, and government will not help you to get this kind of technology development, then you will not able to use the feedstock whatever actually available is there. Regional and seasonal availability of biomass and storage problem. Sometimes if you are highly dependent on agriculture based biomass, then it is only seasonal variations are there, and then it is very difficult to get. Pressure on transport section, because of biomass it has moisture. Currently I think 70% moisture are there. Actually this is not maybe the correct number, but approximately 70% moistures are there. So if you have 1 kg, though, you have to consider that 700 gram is moisture. So that you have to, if you just transporting from one place to another, or 50% if you consider, then 500 gram. So you are wasting your energy for the transportation, the thing which will be not useful as a energy. Now we will go to the inefficient of conversion facility, core technology and equipment shortage. This is technical barriers. Not all countries have that much technical independence to use the biomass in that country to generate the bioenergy. Like in India also, many foreign countries, Netherlands, Norway, even Denmark, for the sake, they are using the biomass conversion, and even US and China that started. But in India, it's still not that much commercial like other countries. So because it is not our core technology, but in future we will be rely on it. So because it has required some specific kind of technology, some investment for the buying the equipments. It has a immature industry chain, because we don't have, everyone doesn't know the knowledge about this biomass. What are the technicalities, what are the challenges? The low ability to gain profit. It will take profit after some time. Initially you have to invest a lot. That's why. Economic challenge, obviously, that I told you, we have to invest a lot. capital will be the stuck in that, profitability is somewhat lower, fluctuations is much more higher, and there are many other things. International prices of crude oil and natural gas will be lower than the biomass. Then you will suppose biodiesel, many, if you are producing the biodiesel, and you have to go for suppose 200 rupees liter of biodiesel you will get, then petrol is just 100 rupees. Obviously 100 rupees not less, but if you compare both of them, then the petrol is still cheaper. So until and unless fossil fuels have the higher value of higher what you can say, it required a higher cost value, then, or price value, then only we can move to the another alternative options. It's constraint of excessive, obviously it requires very high investment, and sometimes for the pre-treatment you have to take the extra cost out of it. Demand and supply, maybe these are some of the 4-5 slides are left, then we can over. So land demand, obviously if you are going for the bioenergy network, then you require a large area of where you can just grow this kind of food or livestock means animals or something, where out of which we are using the biomass as a biomass. And then wood demand also. So suppose firewood and the say roundwood, if it is demand is there, then all required land, that is a primary demand for the biomass. In India we are not planting that kind of energy plants currently, but in future maybe. Land use, so land demand is there, but currently how much we are using for the food production and industrial roundwood, firewood, it is still there, but international trade is there, where whatever we are using our land for, whatever we are developing, which we are giving to the other countries. Like we are supplying the rice, wheat to the many countries currently. I think 7-8 months back, when that war situation was going on, India stopped supplying that wheat to the other countries because we required that grains for our future. So if we are not giving it to other countries, and if we are using it for the biomass and all, then it will be beneficial for us, but some are diplomatic reasons are also there. And then remaining land, we have to go for the energy crop, that which I told you, the one example is jatropha crop. You have to get the jatropha oil out of it. There are many crop, even corn, which in Hindi it is makka or something. So if you are, it's another scientific name is maize. So if you are using the corn, it is a very high it has a high source of biofuel in it, biodiesel specifically. Surplus firewood, so whatever you can use for the bioenergy, and then energy production you have to take care of it by in this you can only get the residue, but if you are using the land for generating this you will directly use for the many products out of it. So if you are do the agriculture and all, whatever the waste agriculture industry, you will take it and you will use it for the energy production. That is a one way. Other than that, you can use the land and you can do the using the land for the energy crop as well, some firewood, then you can directly use it for the energy production. Now land use. So this is the scenario. I think already covered by the professor, so let's not go there. But still, we required a surplus land potential, which we have, so where we can go for the crop production over there. Now problems: high quality biomass is considerable, but limited expensive is always not sustainable. Limited expensive and not always sustainable. So what is the solution? We can go for the agroforestry residue, where high availability and fully environmentally sustainable is there. So agroforestry is residues of lower quality, higher microelements content. So it's contain agriculture as well as forest, both of them. So in that they have the low energy content. So what we can add, we can mix the biomass feedstock and different kind of biomass with this one. Availability is mainly reduced to forest areas, but residues have much lower cost and dispersed and available everywhere. So we can they are just for the forest and agriculture, but their residues are everywhere, so we can use it. Low energy density, bulk volume. So what we have to do, if we have low energy density, then we have to increase the surface area. So what we are doing in the mainly catalyst as anything, if you just think about. So if you have the big chunk of material, if you just break it, then it has a two new and new surface which is going. So we have to chip them. We have to chipping activities by you have to cut them in a smaller part, and then we can enhance that energy density. Biomass degradability affect large distance. So sometimes they can easily degrade because they have organic material. So we have to go for the low moisture thing or something where they are not in the contact in the moisture, so they will not degrade during the transportation. Now, land use. This is a biorefinery, which is a part of our subject topic: biomass and biorefinery. Biorefinery is the same like the refinery. Refinery has many different kind of products. Like crude oil refinery, we have the from methane, ethane, propane kind of gas to we have the residues which has a very heavy oil at the end also. Those all are the product at different in different applications. So here also, if you have the biomass, which is any kind of biomass which is organic material itself, we can directly go for the fuels, ethanol, biodiesel. We can go for the solvents. Many organic solvents like tetrahydrofuran, butane or acetone can be made out of it. Bulk chemicals, we can go for the some organic acids, diacids. Succinic acid is the COOH, C and COOH. So this kind of acid and sucrose and everything you will get. Plastics, you will go for the polymer, you will get the fibers, you get the fine chemicals. So all these products will have the separate applications and use cases. So that's why it is known as a refinery. It's not like that if we are using in the some mechanism in the some technology where we will get the multiple products, so we can tell it as a refinery. So these are the biomass, these are the process which we are naming them as a biorefinery, like fractionation, hydrolysis, gasification, combustion, fermentation, pyrolysis. We'll see everything in the future. You will get the many products: biofuels, feed, food, chemical material, and many things. Now, importance of biorefinery for biobased industry. So you will get this all kind of product. That's it. Okay, so we came to the end, and I just put one cartoon over here. So this is just you how much aware we are always telling about that we need to reduce the plastic waste. We need to reduce the plastic is not ever degrade, it will never decompose, it will take many 500-600 years. So how but then we still rely on the plastic. I am using the laptop which has a plastic everywhere. It has a polypropylene. I am using the mouse, I am using the my shirt button is out of plastic, my water bottle is out of plastic. So how can you remove plastic out of you? You can just say no to the paper plastic polythene bags, that's it. But how can you remove the everything? If you are sitting on the chair, maybe the chair is from the plastic. So this is one lady went to the shop and she asked that at the end the paper or plastic, and that customer told her that paper decomposes within a week, but plastic required many years. So I will always choose paper over the plastic. But that lady has the tell one important sentence. So I will pack your plastic sandwich bags, freezer bags, many kind of things which we are buying which are actually from the plastic. Cleaning bottles, detergent bottle, everything are coming from the plastic and into the paper bag. So this is how you are helping to the environment to become the sustainable. So at the end she is telling that your understanding of plastic will be decomposed within a 15 seconds if you just realize the fact that how much plastic we are using. Okay, so that's it, I think. Yeah, so I'm this is the last slide, and I put the Maurice Wilkins slogan that some of you are not able to understanding the example, but yeah, if you are mistaking and if you are not prepared to make a mistake, then you are not definitely get a success. So definitely it will be there. You will not understand everything in the first time itself. You have to do again and again, and you will at the end eventually will get. succeed. Okay, so I am stopping it currently. And oh, so I would, okay, so I was not, so sorry, actually I don't know that I was not in the meeting. Okay, maybe I was. I am using my mobile also. I didn't get any message over there. Anyway, at the end, I just put one cartoon to understanding that we are everywhere we are using plastic. I am using plastic in this mouse and everywhere, or mobile and all. So better you have to aware, and we have to switch to the technology which will be helpful for us. Now I just want to make one announcement that I think if you have some doubts regarding questions, so I am again sending my uh, mobile number, WhatsApp number, so you can send a message on it, and I will help you out for solving the example. Okay, that's it. And anyone has any questions? So today is the general discussion. From next time onwards, we'll go to the much more detailed thing and all. And as I mentioned today, because in this particular subject sometimes only you will get this numericals and all, otherwise you just need to understand the concept itself. So, and if anyone has any questions, then just raise your hand, otherwise we can go good to go. So maybe Gayatri is again joined, but it's almost over. I again sending my WhatsApp number. If you have any doubt in any numericals, then let me know by my WhatsApp. And other than that, all the very best. And thank you for stay till night till the end. And for any help in this subject, you can let me know. I am Bhavik from IT Madras. So, okay, now I am. If anyone has any question, if no, then I will close down this meeting. Okay, then okay. Bye. Good night.